We have now looked at preservation of foods. We have looked at dairy products just briefly. We'll probably readdress that. We're hoping to be able to make some or mozzarella cheese later in the semester. But we also are now getting into meats. We finished our eggs. I guess I should have said that. But we looked at eggs. We're looking at meat species now. We're going to start looking at chicken tomorrow in our lab. But today, let's talk about what meat processing is, what there are the different methods, and we're going to be watching a few video clips that show us some different processing and how it differs. But let's first talk about what meats are out there. So what are the major meat animal species? Go ahead and answer that question. Next up, when we're looking at what those are, okay, so cattle, which we get both beef and veal. Veal is a young animal that is butchered, so the meat tends to be paler pink and it tends to be very tender. And some people get very upset about veal because they say, oh my gosh, they're locked in crates. They never see the light of day. They should not be butchered young. Well, we butcher lambs young as well. But a lot of people will argue that the meat is that color because they don't see any light. That's not true. The reason the meat is that color is because anytime you eat a younger animal, it is going to be lighter in color because oxidation or oxygen in the muscles is what causes it to be darker red. So the older the animal, the darker it is. If you butchered a 10-year-old cow, her meat is going to be very dark, and where you would think something was almost wrong with it. And that's just because of the amount of oxygen as she used those muscles. So as they're younger, it's going to be lighter. Swine includes pork and then smoked and cured meats. Sheep is lamb and mutton. Lamb being anything under the age of 2 years old whenever it is butchered. Mutton, anything over. Chicken and turkey, which we just label as poultry products. And then we also include fish and shellfish. Here in the Midwest, we don't see a ton of the fishing industry, but it is huge along the coasts. So, a few examples of fresh meat cuts. We have our primals and our subprimals. That's what we learned in Ag 1. I think most everyone has had Ag 1. You remember whenever we did the meats unit and we talked about like the loin, the chuck, the brisket, and then we talked about the actual cuts that come from those areas. Those are your retail cuts. So we'll be evaluating those a little bit in this class, but we'll be doing some more mixed varieties. Since we do so much of that in Ag 1, we're not going to dwell a long time on those items. What are some examples of processed meat products? Go ahead and answer that. Here's a few that I came up with. So there's different sausages. So you have fresh, you have uncooked and smoked, like kielbasa, cooked and smoked. Dry or semi-dried. That's how they're made. They're more like a jerky, dried out. Pepperoni, you might say, is not like that. But if you think about if you get sticks of pepperoni, they're very dry. Loaves, which says loves, but loaves is what I meant. So like pickle loaf, Vienna sausages, or the sausage loaves. Probably, I can't say that I've eaten that very much. Probably the same for you. Some of you may have had some different loaf. And meatloaf is a dish that we make with ground meat. It's not something that is pre-processed. Cured whole muscle, so hams, corned beef, bacon. I'm hoping that we get to make bacon this semester too. We just have to sync up with the butcher. If not, we might make it in vet class. It doesn't quite go, but it'll work. A pork shoulder, pastrami. Restructured would be if you remove the ham or the bone from the ham, not the ham from the bone, and smoked and sliced beef. And then we have breaded like fish sticks, chicken patties, chicken fingers, all those sorts of things. What are examples of meat byproducts? Like I have here, using your device, search for the products for each meat production animal. You are going to search these up and go ahead and type them up on the document that I have attached with this video, and you are going to submit that for credit. And then on Thursday, we're going to chop us some chicken. So our job, or I shouldn't say Thursday, it'll actually be Wednesday. When we chop up our chicken, you are going to get a whole chicken for your group. And the purpose is to get as much of that meat off of that carcass and make it more affordable. Because which one's more affordable? Buying it pre-processed, which is definitely more convenient, or chopping it all the way up. And we're going to learn the different cuts of the chicken as we go. All right, so make sure you have those products written down, you've answered the questions in this video, and have a great day.